This is the second part of a four-part series on the question, when you die, will you go to heaven? Hello, my name is Eduardo Alvarez. In the story of Cain and Abel, we read, in the course of time, Cain brought some fruit of the soil as an offering to the Lord God. But Abel brought some fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. And the Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. In this case, we see a sacrifice of one animal for the sin of one man, Abel. Once again, we have the substitution of the death penalty established by God before Adam's sin applied to an animal instead of a man. Cain's offering does not carry with it the element of death, the blood. Thereby, it does not replace the death penalties for his sins. For this reason, his offering is not accepted by God as a valid substitution of the sentence called for in the law that God told Adam. You must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will surely die. After God had revealed himself to Abraham and had made a covenant with him, a son was born to Sarah, Abraham's wife. Sometime after this event, we read, Then God said, Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about. Abraham obeyed God without questioning. When they reached the place that God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you did not withhold from me your son, your only son. Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. Once again, we see how an animal is sacrificed instead of a person. When God has taken the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, he speaks to Moses and Aaron about the last plague that will come over Egypt. Tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one for each household. The animal you choose must be a year-old male without defect, and you may take them from the sheep or the goats. Take care of them until the 14th day of the month, when all the people of the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and top of the door frames of the houses where they eat the lamb. On that same night I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn of the land, both animal and man. The blood will be a sign for you in the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. Moses called all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go at once and select the animals for your families, and slaughter the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it into the blood in the basin, and put some of the blood on the top and on both sides of the door frames. Not one of you shall go out of the door of this house until morning, when the Lord goes through the land to strike down the Egyptians. He will see the blood on the top and sides of the door frame, and will pass over that doorway. And he will not permit the destroyer to enter your houses and strike you down. From these passages, we can see the following. Once again, we see the blood of an animal as a sign of death. But this time it does not substitute the death of one person, like in the case of Abel, but of an entire household. The blood sprinkled on the 2 vertical doorposts and 1 horizontal lintel as a sign pointing towards the cross. The only requirement to be saved from this plague of death was to be inside the house, protected by the blood on the door. This protection was not dependent on whether the person were Israelites or Egyptians. It was enough to be inside the house to be protected from death. If a firstborn Israelite was outside of the house, he will not be protected by the blood of the doorposts. As we see later on, this symbolism is of great importance for our time. Please go to the 3rd part of this series. Thank you.